It's time for Ask the Mayor on KWBE. Beatrice Mayor Stan Worthoff on Other Business today, and we welcome in with us City Street Superintendent Jason Moore and City Engineer James Burroughs. Thanks for subbing today, guys.
You bet.
You bet.
Just start off, Jason, I imagine the cobwebs on the snowplow attachments, you might have to brush those off every once in a while. It's been kind of a weird year. You're not having to do as much of that.
You know, it's been very welcome, that's for sure. It's been a while since we've had definitely a while. I can't remember the last time we've had a winter quite like this. Mm-hmm. You know, where we've had a couple of dustings. Really, the trucks went out, I believe, 3 times, maybe through December and January for small little winter precipitation events. But you know, we really don't have any frost in the ground. And looking long term, I really don't see anything that's a big chance of anything coming up. So,
barring something that happens in March or April, which is possible, but I don't know. That, like you say, the 10-15 day forecast ahead of time looks pretty dry.
It does. It's cold next week, a little bit off and on. Looks like it's going to be a nice weekend. But you know, we've seen some really impressive storms in March and April before. So we'll cross our fingers and kind of hope for rain.
Okay. James, this time of the year when it's not really construction season yet, but you're heading into one here soon, how busy is it going to be this year, and what's some of the things your office is undertaking this time of year?
Well, we have a lot of projects on the list that we're trying to get completed this year. We have some asphalt projects and some concrete reconstruction projects. Right now, the difficult part is all the contractors are extremely busy. And like everything else right now with inflation, we're seeing a drastic increase in project cost. So, you know, we've gone so far as sent a couple other projects back out for bid, trying to get some better bid numbers based on some comments by the contractors. We're in the process of adjusting some of the projects in terms of length and overall quantities, trying to get them to fit within the budget. But some contractors telling us they can't get to us until late fall even. So we're having to kind of be flexible with the dollars we have and the projects that we can try to get done this year.
Do you foresee the possibility of pushing some off to the next year right now?
Right now, I think so. One of those being a large asphalt project. We only had one bid. It was on 11th Street, which was originally a 9-block project from Lincoln to Park, but it came way over budget. So we couldn't accept those. We even tried to negotiate with that particular contractor, seeing if we could cut a couple blocks off. And at that time, due to their schedule, they just opted not to want to adjust the project. So we are going out and getting some additional quotes to do that work. Hopefully, we might cut it down to 7 blocks if it fits within our budget. But with that, the contractors are telling us, hey, we might not be able to get there to do some of that work until October, November, which in turn might push some of the asphalt back into the spring of the following year. So we're trying to see what our options are and try to do the best we can to keep things moving forward.
Yesterday I had a little discussion at Board of Public Works about supply chain issues and the effects. How much is that affecting you guys in terms of running departments? Is that kind of a worry for you at this point?
It is for equipment.
Yeah.
You know, we're looking at pickups right now where we're being told that we may not get pickups that were ordered. Dump trucks. I was supposed to have a dump truck delivered in June. It still hasn't showed up. So, you know, and they're telling me that I may see it before June of this year. So we'll see. You look around. I was at a conference yesterday, and there was vendors there talking about equipment and how a lot of the equipment that they're not for certain, but they're saying you may be a year and a half behind on some of this equipment. And it may be this way for a while.
Yeah. What about the price of fuel and how that factors in on material? Is that a concern too?
We've seen it, yeah, just in terms of the unit prices for concrete, for asphalt, you know, the oil in the asphalt, all that's being affected one way or another by trucking cost or, delivery of those materials. It's really escalating the project costs.
And
go ahead.
We were told yesterday at the conference you may expect a 15% increase on asphalt prices just due to the increase in fuel.
I see. Well, I was going to ask you about what you got planned for street work, and let's just forget like the problems are going on. If there were no problems, what all is going to be happening this year?
Well, in terms of projects that we have bid out, asphalt projects, like I said, the first one was 11th Street from Lincoln to Park, but we're renegotiating that one. But we have a couple small asphalt projects. One is Prairie Avenue from Carlisle to Darwin Street.
Is that the one that fills the gap?
Yeah. This is a project that was actually requested by the adjacent property owners. So we're trying to help them out and get that included. One of the projects that's currently out for bid right now, which is a concrete reconstruction project, is on 4th Street from Grant to Lincoln, and then also connecting is Lincoln Street from 4th to 5th. That's currently an asphalt street that has concrete curb and gutter, but we're going to come in and remove that asphalt and put concrete in there. And that's a high traffic intersection, turning movements by vehicles that that asphalt takes a pounding. If we would keep it as asphalt, I think we are in the process of redoing that asphalt like every 2 to 3 years. It just can't hand up to the traffic. So we're going to go concrete with that, and we have a bid opening on that in a week from today.
I live in that area, and it never ceases to amaze me how much traffic, both eastbound, westbound, every day. It seems like it's kind of an informal bypass route for traffic between like Fairbury and Lincoln or things like that. And I don't know, I can see why you're looking at that possibility. Time-wise on that project, is that like a midsummer project?
On the concrete reconstruction project. Yeah, that one, like I said, we'll open bids next Thursday. Then it's up to the contractor on his schedule, but it has a completion date, I believe, in August. So it shouldn't really take that long. It should be like a 30 to 60-day project, hopefully a lot quicker than that. But once the contractor gets started, it should move pretty quick and be able to get done this summer.
Jason, you mentioned the increased cost on oil asphalt. Is that going to reduce your armor coating maintenance projects this year? Are you going to stick with kind of the same list? Or
we're still going to stick with the same list right now. What we've seen on our armor coats came in within our budget, and so which was really nice to see for that. We'll see what next year's armor coats do with the price of oil and emulsion. But for right now, we're gonna be right on where we need to be.
Are most of those in a particular area of the city this year, or are they kind of scattered about?
Right now, the last area that we have is generally the northeast corner of town. And if you're really looking at the area between Lincoln and Monroe, and because once you get north of Monroe, a lot of that area up there is concrete. And so we've got, I believe, Washington and 13th Street, Hoyt Street, east of 19th, Jefferson, a small stretch on Lincoln, and Washington Street from 10th to 14th. So we've got a few little pieces here and there that we're trying to get armor coated up and sealed up, and then next year we're really, in the last 8 years, James and I have done a really good job. We've got just about all of the streets in town that are asphalt have been armor coated once. If they haven't been armor coated, they've been a mill and overlay on them. So we've still got a couple in town that we need to hit, and I think we're really close to being one full round on the town.
Last year, I think last time we had you in the fall, maybe summer, we talked about some of the experimentation you're doing with different methods as far as resurface or maintenance procedures. I know it might be kind of early to tell if that's really worked, but any kind of evaluation of that yet? Early evaluation of it?
I think there's basically three processes that we've looked at. One is armor coating, which is where you have a gravel surface that you put back onto a asphalt road, and then you have the Mastic Sealing, which is the black spray that you've seen gone down that Jason wanted to try last year, and then you have what's called an Asphalt Rejuvenator, which in terms is like, best way I can explain it is like a baby oil consistency that you spray onto the asphalt roadway that's supposed to soak into the road and then rejuvenate it in terms of bringing back the flexible properties of the asphalt. I think, like Jason and I have been discussing, each one has its place. And we've kind of came up with the projects in terms of, if you have an asphalt road that looks really slick or glassy like it's lost a lot of its aggregate surfacing, it's a perfect fit for armor coat. But if you go and look at the asphalt roadway and you can still see the aggregate properties in the asphalt, then that's where Jason likes to use the Mastic Sealing, because you could seal it up. It's a little bit cheaper than armor coating, but it seals the road up from water penetrating down into the asphalt. And the Rejuvenator, we are only using on asphalt roadways that have a substantial structural base to them, meaning that they're 4 inches or have a base to them, something that we feel like structurally that's going to hold up anyway, and we just want to keep that asphalt looking as new as possible.
Yeah. The ceiling that was done on Lincoln, right by the courthouse there, and a little bit to the east.
Yes.
Just judging, looking at it right now, how did that go?
Well, we really haven't had a bad winter.
Yeah.
The plows haven't been over it a lot. I was looking at a stretch on West Hoyt the other day, and around the Herbert area. It looks really nice. I think so far, I think it definitely has its place. I think, as James was saying, on a roadway that still has aggregate, so that you still have a wear factor, so that you still have a grit on the roadway. I think that a road that doesn't have a lot of imperfections, I think this Mastic Seal would really do a really nice job. I think Armor Coat is still an extremely effective sealant. It creates a new surface. The oil is about 32 thousandths of an inch. The gravel then goes on top of that. You create a new abrasive surface, and it covers pretty much everything. So Armor Coat definitely has, I like Armor Coat, but I think there's a place for different materials.
Armor Coat, is that the least expensive of the options, or not necessarily?
It's actually probably right now the Mastic Seal is just a touch cheaper than the armor coating, because you don't have the aggregate that you're paying for, the hauling of the aggregate. The Rejuvenator falls right in line. It's probably just a hair bit even less expensive than the Mastic Sealing. So, but they're very close. I mean, we're talking $1.70, I think it is, a square yard. And the other one might be $1.56 or something. I mean, we're not talking a huge cost swing.
Okay. We're speaking with Jason Moore and James Burroughs of the City of Beatrice today on Ask the Mayor, and we'll have more in a moment. Back on Ask the Mayor with City Street Superintendent Jason Moore and City Engineer James Burroughs today. Now, it's almost hard to believe. Going to talk about some other projects coming up, but it's almost a year, Jason, since Midwest Area Refuse Solutions started up, operated by the city, but kind of its own entity. Give me a 1-year evaluation. Pretty happy with how it's gone?
I'm extremely happy. I think after the first 6 months, we had most all of the bugs worked out of things. The operators that we have in place now are extremely knowledgeable with the trucks that they have. We still have glitches here and there, but the overall service that we provide is top notch. The guys know what they're doing. They know their routes. We continually add new rural residents to our rural routes that we have, and which is extremely nice to see. We're putting our totes out. More and more people are seeing our totes, and they see our name, and they start to call and ask questions. And so we've been averaging, I think, about 9 new rural customers each month. So and that's not including commercial. But we're always willing to take a look at where people are at in the county, or Jefferson County, Saline County, and provide them with dumpsters or totes.
What about house equipment to holding up in addition to the trucks, but like the containers and things? And they get rolled around a lot and blown around by the wind on certain days. Are they pretty durable? Are they holding up pretty well for you? Honestly,
in almost a year here, I've only seen 2 containers that have been cracked. One of them was because the side loader picked it up, hit a tree branch above the truck, broke the lid, and the other one was slammed down and broke a bar out of the back of the container. We've seen a couple of broken wheels. Again, when the side arm comes down, if the sidewalk is a little higher, the arm knows what, if you will, 0 is. It knows when it picks that can up, it knows where it picks it up. And it knows when it returns it to that same height. Well, if the arm picks it up in a different location, or the sidewalk's a little higher, when it sets it down, it doesn't know the sidewalk's a little higher, and so sometimes she'll thump the can down a little bit. Yeah. And so we've had to replace a couple of wheels. But honestly, today we've got another shipment of totes being delivered today, as well as new recycling containers. And so, in fact, when I leave here, I'm heading out to the landfill to help unload about 600 new totes.
I see. Good. Big project in the works, being studied now by a consultant. Lincoln Street, what to do with it between 5th and 22nd, including the intersections at US 77 and Lincoln, and also 19th and Lincoln. This is going to be James, kind of a lengthy process just to get through deciding what you want to do. Plus, there's a public input aspect.
Right. Yeah, we want to make sure, like you just said, it's a high traffic roadway, used a lot. It's one of our arterial streets. We want to make sure that we evaluate it and do it right the first time when we're going to redo this roadway. It's currently asphalt, just 2 inches of asphalt over a low-grade base. The problem is we mill and overlay. I think we just did it 6 years ago. And the problem is it's already falling apart. And so instead of throwing money at it every 6 years, it's time to look at a more permanent solution, one that'll last 25, 30, 40 years. But we want to make sure before we spend that kind of money that it's the right configuration and the right design for the people along that corridor as well as the traffic. So we'll be looking at everything from should it just stay the way it is, with the 2 lanes and then parking on one side. Should it be changed to 2 lanes with parking on both sides? Should it be a 3-lane roadway, where you have 2 through lanes and then a center turn lane? All that's going to be evaluated and at the same time, being cognizant of the right-of-way issues. If we get wider, well, that means going into people's yards. We don't want to do that any more than we absolutely have to. So at the same time, that's why we're going to have public hearings and let people come in and voice their opinion, what they think would be the best fit. And then we're going to try to take all that information and try to pick the best solution that fits everybody's needs, the vehicles traveling on the road, the people living next to it, and then how it functions for the city.
Is that more than likely going to have to be something you'd approach in phases? Because just the size of it would be an awfully expensive project if you did the whole stretch.
Right.
Is that kind of what you're faced with, or how do you see that? Yeah.
Honestly, that'll be some of the options we look at as well. Yeah. Whatever solutions we look at, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 options, will have cost associated with those options, and that'll be part of deciding what option we want to choose. Mm-hmm. So at that point, we'll have to decide: do we want to do all of it at once? Do we want to do half of it? Maybe we can only afford to do 2 or 3 blocks at a time, but at least if we know the direction we're heading, then we can do those 2 or 3 blocks and make sure they fit the corridor as we go forward. But all that will be evaluated and discussed during this process.
I think it's 13th and Lincoln where it jogs in through there. Yep. You're in a really established neighborhood where there's a limited amount of space to do things.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you have an apartment building there, if I remember right.
Yeah, on the south, west corner.
You've done some redirection before, like at 4th and Grant there,
right.
Where it comes up on the hill. How much more difficult is this one, say, maybe compared to that one? I know they have different, sight distance type things and things like that.
Again, like you stated, we're going to be looking at 3 major intersections. One is Lincoln and Highway 77. Mm-hmm. The other one is 13th and Lincoln, and then finally 19th and Lincoln Street. But yeah, 13th is one that's really on our radar. What can we do to make it function better? And then, like you said, the line of sight, making sure that if you're coming from the north or south, that you can see oncoming traffic and all that's evaluated and make sure that we're having traffic flow through there the way it needs to. But
Lincoln Street, of course, is access to BSDC. BSDC's makeup is changing a little bit in terms of just by law and federal law as far as how many residents they have out there. On the other hand, you have the potential for a new school right across the way, which sort of negates that. That'll add traffic too.
Right. Yeah. During the school's process, they've already done a traffic study out there for 33rd and Lincoln. Mm-hmm. So those numbers have kind of already been generated in terms of what that could do to Lincoln Street. Mm-hmm. But with this study, they're taking traffic counts and evaluating those traffic counts right now as well. So all that will be put into the study and accounted for in determining what the makeup of Lincoln Street should look like.
Okay. Back to wrap up, Ask the Mayor with James Burroughs, Jason Moore, in just a moment on KWBE. 5-6 minutes left on Ask the Mayor today with City Street Superintendent Jason Moore and City Engineer James Burroughs subbing in for Mayor Stan Worth this week with Jason with Clean City going back to May this year, this spring. I think, kind of early to mid-May is roughly the time there. One of the things people always talk about, and one of the things that kind of struggled with a little bit in the past, is mattress drop-off. You've got a different plan.
Oh, we do. Clean City this year is scheduled for May 9th, 10th, and 11th. And so people will need to be thinking about registering their locations again. And so mattress drop-off in the past couple of years, one year we had it down at the Scott Street ball fields. Another year we decided to move it over to First and Ella Street, put a roll-off down there. It's a great program. It's I guess it's been abused, if you want to say. We've got a lot of people who are coming in from the country. We've got a lot of people who are coming in from, well, we've seen the vehicles coming in from out of town, out of state, out of county, however you want to put it. We've seen all the vehicles there. We've seen fifth neck goose wheels, gooseneck trailers dumping off mattresses. So we know it's been abused. And it's a city program. And so what we're looking at this year, to try and get away from all of the mattresses that were stacked last year on the railroad property, as well as on the First and Ella, the piles. What we're going to look at this year is we're going to move the mattress drop-off out to the compost site, out by the landfill. Everybody's already got their mattresses loaded up. Instead of going to First and Ella, you'll just go to the compost site, which is directly next door to the landfill. We'll have signs out there, mattresses, arrows pointing where to go. They'll pull in through the compost site, which is manned from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. They'll pull through. They'll show a driver's license, maybe some form of a proof of address to Beatrice to give you proof of residency. Then you'll go through. You'll throw your mattress off in the roll-off, just the same as you're doing now. And then I'll have either landfill personnel or MARS personnel will grab the roll-offs when they're full and run them into the landfill. That way, we're not bottlenecking things at the landfill. If you were to bring a mattress in now today and you were to come through the landfill, you'd go in through the scale. If we have Clean City, we have to think there are going to be numerous people that are coming out. If they're trying to come out through the morning hours and they're trying to do it while we have construction trucks coming through, semis with construction debris, garbage trucks coming through, if they have to go across the scale for every item, then it's going to slow things down for the garbage trucks. And so we have to weigh the material that goes into the landfill. By having everything go to the compost site, it's out of the way of the garbage trucks. It's safer for everybody. We can take a little time, look at your driver's license or proof of residency, and show, yes, this is where I'm at. We throw the mattress in the roll-off, or you do. We come, we pick it up, then we weigh one truck with numerous mattresses, and then we run it back into the landfill.
The in-town collection, as far as curbside and the rules that you've used in the past, pretty much going to be similar, the same.
Will. Yeah. Yes.
Just, aside from being a 3-day one, which has worked out pretty well for you, hasn't it? Instead of the full week.
It has.
5 days. So.
Yeah, it really works out well. Our Thursday is the day that we go back and pick up anything that maybe we missed. We're not perfect. We drive by sometimes and we look at an item and maybe it's not on our paperwork or our iPad that we use now. Maybe there was a glitch. And so there are a few items that we do have to go back and pick up, and then doing that, we work 4/10, so Friday the guys are off.
Yep. James, one last thing to talk about today. Over the past year, you picked up a new title, and that is Superintendent of the Wastewater Treatment Plant. And there's been a lot of projects out there going on. Probably is less seen by the public because it's kind of out of the way, and you don't really think about it as much as some other things. But what are some of the things that are going on at the plant? Or do you have other projects that'll come up this year?
Yeah, we just recently finished our biosolids project, which we installed 2 centrifuges, which process or dewater the biosolids out the wastewater treatment plant. And that just finished up actually this last year. We've moved on to, we're doing a study on our grit removal system. Which is a lot of the sand and fine particles that are in the wastewater that we try to remove so it doesn't damage equipment and pumps and things like that. But we're currently on a study doing that right now. And if things look favorable for price and budget, we're looking at maybe doing something with that project in maybe a year or two, getting that installed. But, the guys have adapted well. Got a great crew out there that really is knowledgeable about the system, so it's made the transition very easy for me. But we're doing our maintenance on our sanitary sewer system. We have a lot of lift stations still that we started that this year as well. We're doing studies on 2 of the lift stations each year to see how are they functioning, what we need to do to bring them up to current codes and make sure that they're able to handle all the flow that's coming to them. So.
Gentlemen, thanks for coming in. We didn't even get to drainage patterns there. We're going to talk about that at some point because that's a big topic, too, that's yet to come here in Beatrice studies on that. But appreciate you both coming in and subbing in for Mayor Worth today.
You bet.
Thank you.